Good morning, my CPS chums, and welcome to my digital studio. Today I want to go over the wonders that is our salary calculator, how it's built, how best to maintain it. It's one of my favorite online tools in many years because it seems so simple and easy to use, and because the utility it brings to the audience you're trying to communicate with. So let's get started. All right, so here we are at the salary calculator. When you go to come teach with us, we have these tabs, and when you click on them, right, it reveals this. On this one, we've got this salary calculator, and you slide it around and you can choose different education levels, which will change these two different salary calculations, and these are the years. Pretty simple stuff, and I think built efficiently. The first thing I want to show you, just a quick overview of the code, just so there's some understanding inside and out, because it's really not that hard to track when you see how it's built. And I'm over in Codepen, where I like to build some of these isolated things to keep it, independent of all the other variables that the website could introduce to it. And I do want to show you over here, if I go to licensed teacher page, and then I scroll down, the way that we get to these different tabs is this is the tab earn. And the way I get to that is I click over here on settings. Because it's hidden right now until it's activated, I copy that. I go up to the URL and in the admin mode, and it'll take me directly to that tab. And then once I'm there, I can edit this, and it's got two components to it. It's got a code base here, and that's just the basics of the tools that you can use to interact with it. And then down at the bottom of the code base, there's no values in there yet, like the salary number and 3-year projection and whatnot. But there's nothing calculated at this point when it's in the code, right? And the way that the magic happens is if I go back to the pages of where this is a tab. So this is a tab of the licensed teacher page. If I click on this gear and then go to the advanced tab, I can see a couple of scripts, and that's where we're at here. And first, this is the color palette, which you're familiar with, but then this is the code. Salary calc, this is the style code, and this is the JavaScript code. And I'll show you where we get that in a moment. But that's when it interacts. It's watching those interactions and it's calculating. So that's how that's stored. And then back to the code and how it's written independently before it's installed into the site. So this is a place called Codepen, where the beauty of it is as I make changes, it's saving automatically, so I don't have to keep reloading anything. So here's the code that I showed you, the HTML code. The styling code is kind of hidden right now. And all the styling code is doing primarily is the responsiveness and how that's going to work. So that's what the styling code, so I don't need to show you much of that. But I think that the way that the code works and gets the content is a good one. So what you're familiar with is that we have the spreadsheet, and I find it funny that you're on the spreadsheet and being recorded. Do you consent? Anyways, so here's where the values of it are stored, right? Your education level, year, and then change these numbers. You can even check and make sure that it's connected. Let's say I change that to a 5. And then if I reload the page, and as you can see, it changed right there, 76,525. I'm just going to hit Control-Z to change it. Or what I could do, which I think is important, is I can look at the version history. I can see the change I made on that day. This is what it was as of the last change on July 6th, which in this case, you're not seeing the changes. And what you'll notice is that this new tab was added. So but if I go to that today, that's the change that was made. I'll just revert that back, do a Control-Z, that's a 4. As soon as I tab off the cell, the data is changed. There it is. So it changes right away. And that also confirms that we're in effect working on the proper spreadsheet. So the way the spreadsheet works is that the first thing we did is publish to the web. And when we publish to the web, it's just telling Google that this document can be viewed. And that's all we need to do is make sure that it's published. And then what's really cool that Google offers, but it's kind of hard to find, is once it's published to the web, what we can do is that we can go File, Share, and we copy the link and I paste it here like that. Then I have I can pull out the ID and the ID of the spreadsheet. And again, I know this is a little deep, but it makes sense when you see it. So I take out this ID, which is right there, and then it puts it in here, this other way to get the data. So this is a URL by Google that once you pull that ID out, then you can get it in a format that we need. And this little number is telling you what tab of the spreadsheet to get, and I'm always just pulling the first one. That's important to note that you can do anything you want in any other tabs. It's the first one is that we're looking at, and that's how we get that. This is what it looks like. This is the data that we get, but that's what we want, right? The fact that we can
edit all of our data through Google Spreadsheet, and it's real time. That's what makes that calculator so easy to edit. So that's all this code is doing. It's just getting the data, and it loops through that thing, and it knows what the values are. And then this code is just passing in masters. It looks for masters and the number 5 years in this data stream, and it gets the value, and then it just outputs it, and it just watches what's happening here and what's happening here. Really super simple. And then the way that you edit it, these numbers here, 0 through 10, as long as you don't add any additional numbers, I mean, if you do, it's not going to find that data. And if you only have 0 through 9, if you were to move this when that one is selected to 10 and there was no data, you would get nothing there. If you add things that aren't going to be selectable by those tools, you won't get any results. And you don't change the spelling of these things, because what's coded into this, the values of this, is passing what's in the spreadsheet. Masters plus 30 is going to pass that exact value into the calculator. It's going to look for this value within the code. It's pretty simple, and it's going to match it up and give us our values. So that's it. So if you just wanted to copy this and paste it, and then you move off the cells, you should check, and it should be fine, should work totally. Or you could just copy these values if that's all that's changing, and just paste them in. And if something breaks, hit Control Z or go back to your file history, and you can revert back. The final thing I want to show you is where that code is. So going back here, we've got CSS, but it's really less, which is uncompiled. So it needs to be compiled, and the same with the JavaScript, so it'll run on all browsers. And so I run both of these through a converter, and then save the files. And then over in the website, I have a spot called docs, and it's restricted there. And then down there is custom site files. And within the custom site files, I've got right here, salary calc CSS. So this is the stuff that I compiled out of Codepen into a format that's really friendly with all browsers. And if I go and edit here, I click here, and you can see that's where the file is on the server. The way that you get the file up on the server is once you save it locally, I go to edit, and what I'm doing is I have a file, and this one's checked off, but I want to put a new one up. I would just upload that file, check it off, save it. That's where it's stored on the server, and that's how I access it and run the calculator. It's pretty simple. So that's it. That's the nuts and bolts of this awesome salary calculator. And I hope this made it easy to edit it and maintain it for the future.